I want to talk about the game, the Slormancer. It is a pixel art ARPG developed by a French indie studio which is called Slormreaper Studios. It is published by Biting Bridge and Tilt. The game itself has a 70% positive rating for the lately reviews and a overall rating of 81% positive on Steam by the time of recording. Slormreaper Studios consists of 3 people: a developer, Jeremy Samarcelli, a artist, Aurélien Chavois, and a composer, Aurélien Pouda. I tried my best pronouncing the names correct, but I'm quite sure I butchered them. Game released on 6th of April in 2021, and development studio has a roadmap for the upcoming updates and planned content. Visually, the game looks pretty good. As you can see here, the meteor has a lot of details, something that's only there for just a split second. Furthermore, the spawning animations of the enemy and the animations of the enemies itself are decent. The visual details on the skills, however, of the characters is amazingly good. As you can see here, there's a swerve around the knight who's whirlwinding, and there's a impact on the enemy where the judgment hammer is dropped. Next up, I want to talk about the classes. In Slormancer, there are 3 different types of classes: a melee class, a caster class, and a range class with 1 melee spec. Every class has 3 specializations and 8 usable skills. I want to talk about the knight class first because I know most about it, or more than about the other 2 classes. The 3 knight specializations are the Enduring Protector, the Haphazard Champion, and the Distinguished Knight. Every specialization has a different kind of playstyle and comes with a different type of skill. And here you can see what I think is one of the game's biggest strengths. Because, as you can see at the bottom of every specialization, there's a TLDR of how the playstyle should work, or is intended to work. And they highlight the strengths, the key mechanics, and the unlockable support skill of each class, which is amazing. Next, I want to talk about the skills of the knight. Every skill of the 8 skills is different, as it should be. The first skill of the knight is the Mighty Swing. The second skill is Wood Stick. Third skill is Throwing Sword. The fourth skill is Cadence. The fifth skill is Grappling Hook. The sixth skill is Crest Shield. The seventh skill is Whirlwind. The eighth skill is the Elder Lance. As you can see, every skill has 5 tiers of passives. Those are unlocked by leveling the skill. The skill can be leveled if you use it and kill mobs with it, which in my opinion is an amazing system, but it is really annoying for the player. You see, if I want to check out the skill or anything, I have to play it for a excessive amount of time, because you have to reach level 10 to unlock every tier of passives. And those passives really do change the way the skill works. On top of that, the ranks for the passives have to be unlocked with Slorm, which is a currency that you gain from killing enemies. Those skill costs ramp up pretty quickly. Next, we have the Mage class and its 3 specializations: the Devoted Sholar, the Phlegmatic Caster, and the Arcane Commander. The 8 skills of the Mage are the Arcane Missile, the Ray of Obliteration, a Book Smash, Rift Nova, Chrono Puncture, Attunement Pulse, Arcane Breach, and last, the Orb of the Arcane Master. And lastly, we have the Hunter class, with its 3 specialization: the Architect of Death, the Sharpshooter of the Wild, and the Mistwalker, which is a melee type playstyle. The 8 skills of the Hunter class are Arrow Shot, Rain of Arrow, Stab, Heavy Explosive Projectile, Fist of the Wild, Void Arrow, Finesse, and the Immortal Arrow. Since the game is a ARPG, there are some UI elements that are common in that kind of genre. For example, the toggle-able minimap in the middle left side of the screen, and the resource or the HP bar and the resource in the middle of the lower section, as well as the skills and their key bindings. On top of your HP bar, there's the buff tracker. On top of the resource bar, there should be the debuff tracker, which does not show anything right now because I'm in the city where there's no debuff. I want to talk about the city. Best I explain it by the map shown here. There are a lot of different NPCs inside the city. There's a merchant, a Slormreaper Upgrader, a blacksmith, a bank, 2 NPCs that can reset your spent Slorm for the Atlas and the passive skills. There are the 2 different classes, and then there are the 2 entrances to the Storymissions and the expeditions. On top of that, there are some NPCs in the city that are not used right now or have minor use. Next up, I want to talk about the individual NPCs inside the city and what their use is. First, we have the obligatory merchant, who can sell you some equipment items with a limited supply. He also has 2 types of random crates, in which there will be several items of the same quality, a tab for Slormite and a sell tab, in which you can sell all items at once of the same rarity, and a buyback tab. Next up, we have the Slormicer, which has only 2 tabs. One is for upgrading items, the second is for upgrading the materials needed to upgrade items. As you can see, the amount of gold needed to upgrade the Slormite needed to upgrade your items gets pretty high. As you can see, most of my items are around +6 or +7, which I did only through found Slormite, which is not that rare, so it's not that big of a deal. I guess for the higher tiers, you would have to forge them at the Slormicer for a hefty gold price. Slormicer also can upgrade your items for Slormite, but your items first should have acquired some kind of potential. Potential is acquired through wearing the items and slaying enemies. There are 3 types of effects that can happen to your item if you upgrade it. First, there's a critical reinforcement, which will give the item some kind of potential after the upgrade. So it starts on the next tier with like 25%. There's a double reinforcement, which does exactly that. And there's failure without any consequences, but you will lose the potential on the item. You can also put in some modifiers, but they seem to have no use right now. There's also an indicator on the item in your character screen if the item has 100% potential acquired, which is the plus icon below the item on your equipped character slot. Okay, next up we probably have the most important NPC, the Smith. The Smith has 3 tabs. The first one is for upgrading items, especially their rarity. Each item has 5 stages of rarity, which are normal, magic, rare, epic, and legendary. Each item also can have a Reaper score, a Mastery score, and a attribute score. Each of the stats provided by the rarity levels can be changed individually. You have multiple options at the Smith to lock some of the stats or reforge them all at once. The amount of stats you can get per rarity level increases. For example, there are only about 8 base stats per item, but there are like 15 magic and rare stats, and there are about 40 epic stats. Legendary stats are unique. They will provide you with unique effects to your skills depending on the class you play. The Smith can increase the rarities of your items if you have the needed materials and the gold for it, which depending on the rarity, the amount of gold really increases. In the latest update, they rebalanced the amount of gold needed to reforge or forge the bonus scores like Reaper score, Mastery score, and Attribute score, since the developer wanted to make sure that this is some endgame min-maxing options, not something you have to consider every time you pick up a new item. The Smith also can salvage all the items in your inventory, and you can create the materials needed to reforge the items. For example, there's just the different types of worm line needed for the different rarities, and there are Slorman drides for the different bonus scores, as well as the Slorman rights for locking stats and other reforging options at the smith, which all can be crafted by the basic materials for the lower rarities like normal, magic and rare, except for the forging material for the higher rarities like legendary and epic. You can also choose the quantity, how much you want to craft, 1, 3 or max. Basic materials are dropped from defeated enemies. Right next to the smith there's the warehouse manager. It's the bank NPC. The bank offers 5 stashes for an increasing amount of gold. Next up we have the 2 NPCs that will refund your spent Slorm on your passive skills for a mere 10% margin. There used to be a third NPC which got its use removed, and I also forgot what he was used for. Next up we have the last NPC with a major use in the game right now, which is the NPC that will start your battlefield missions, which are the main gameplay loop in the game. This NPC will only be there if you've completed the first story missions. At the NPC you can choose between 11 Wrath level, none, 0 and up to 10. Each Wrath level increases the enemy's life pool, the enemy's stealth damage, but it also increases your experience gain, your magic item quantity and your reward. It also rewards you with gold and Slorm for each rift you've closed, which there are between 6 and 15 per map. I'm not sure if there's a limit of floors for each battlefield you start, so that's something you're gonna find out for yourself. The last 3 NPCs I want to talk about are NPCs that have minor use in the game right now, or more specifically spoken, you don't have to visit them as frequently as the other NPCs. The first of those 3 is called Nostrus. He will provide you with skill points for your Ancestral Legacy in return for fancy things you find in the story mission areas, like the hat he's wearing. The second NPC is Professor Geranium. He will upgrade your Slormreaper once it reached a certain threshold level. And lastly, the last of the 3 NPCs, and the last NPC I want to talk about, is Pedro, the Gravedigger. He will provide you with the story missions for the most part. Now let's get into the juicy stuff. The character attributes, the Ancestral Legacy, and the Slormreaper, in that order. Something that is really nice about the game is shown here as well. In the character screen, you can select one of 3 tabs on the left side, which will provide you with every character stat you have right now, which for those type of games is really useful. Now, for the character attributes, there are 8 different character attributes which you can skill. Skill points for character attributes are gained by leveling and can be reset at every point in time. Every type of character attribute will provide you with a lot of upgrades for your character, as well as some special and unique effects. Those unique effects are unlocked about every 15 points spent, which are indicated with the bigger icons in the progression bar. The game also shows you every bonus you get from each character attribute if you hover over the major icon at the beginning of every bar. The game also highlights how many of the bonuses you have already unlocked. It also provides the information what kind of bonus you get for which point if you hover over the individual point in the progression bar. You need about 75 points to complete one character attribute bar. Those points can be obtained through leveling or with items and their bonus attribute. Now, about the Ancestral Legacy. It is like in Path of Exile, a Atlas-based skill system where you have a limited amount of points to spend. Each of those points is unlocked at the NPC Nostrus in exchange for fancy items, which you will get through the story missions. Most of the points in the Atlas are not available in the early access right now, but as you can see there's a lot of depth in the Atlas and there's a lot of variety between each of the unlockable nodes. Once a node is unlocked, you have the ability to upgrade them in exchange for Slorm, but it's really expensive to upgrade them. On top of that, in the early access there are only 2 points left to spend, which limits the amount of nodes you can reach. The last mechanic I want to talk about in the game are the Slormreapers. The Slormreapers are the weapons in the game. Each Slormreaper can gain XP and level and increase its base stats alongside the levels. After a certain amount of levels reached, you can upgrade them to their next form. Each Slormreaper gets a new unique effect added on top of the already existing ones. I'm not sure about the maximum level a Slormreaper can reach. There are a ton of different weapons. As you can see, I did not even unlock all of them. For each class specialization, there's a different amount of Slormreapers with different effects. Last thing I want to talk about are the story missions that are in the game right now, or story expeditions, I guess, which consists only of the graveyard area at the moment. There are about 16 levels. Some of them you have to replay. They are a quite decent intro to the game and the main gameplay loop. They're there to give you a feeling for each of the classes and to explain a little bit of the story. Now I want to give my own opinion about the game. It's a quite decent game. I like it. I enjoy playing it. I enjoy the playstyle of the haphazard knight, and I choose the lawnmower build because I wanted to see how grindy it can be. And it plays really nice. I like the kill counter and the damage per second counter, and that you can forge the resource gain elements on your equipment, so you can always keep casting. I like how much depth is already in the game, skill wise and theory crafting wise. I hope the upcoming updates and maybe expansions of the game will be as good as the base game right now, or even better, because I'd like to see the game in about 6 months or a year, when it had 2 or 3 major updates. I hope they'll put in some kind of earthy grind, I guess, because only grinding for those legendaries to get them does not fulfill me to keep on playing for a excessive amount of time. I hope for some kind of mode where I can put those legendaries to good use, like, I don't know, like in Diablo 3, I guess, like a ranking system, or in Path of Exile, like a really hard boss or something like that. Yeah, but overall, I've had a lot of fun with the game, and I hope the video helped you to better understand the game and to get a good look about it. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.